So does Command Shift R record to the
The
cloud or
computer.
to the computer?
Yep. All right. I'm going to get started, Michael.
All right.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our second Programming for Everyone meetup. My name is Taylor, and I also have my other co organizer here, Michael Doise.
Hello, everyone.
And we also have Victor as well, who is part of the Programming for Everyone group. And I believe that's all we have at the current moment, but people will be
Yep.
filing into Zoom.
Some, hopefully, small crowd right now.
Yep. But that's okay. We're still going to have a really great discussion regardless. And it will also be available on YouTube if you all would like to go ahead and see that as well. And a link will be posted on the meetup and on the Discord. So, let's see. So, that is kind of what we're doing so far. And super excited. This is week 2, and it was really fun last week. So, let's try to have a great time, talk programming, and just do what we do best.
Yep.
So, let's go ahead and get this thing started. Michael, you're a co host, which is good, so you can let in people if they come in. But let's go ahead and talk about what device we program on. Because obviously, we kind of run the show. Not that our opinion, not that we might be biased or anything, or we may be, who knows. But, let's just kind of talk about what we do, right? As organizers and stuff of the meetup, just, and then we can kind of get everyone else involved. Personally, Michael and I program on Mac exclusively. I have programmed on Windows before, but I have found recently that programming on Mac is actually a lot easier, and we're going to go into that later on. But programming on Mac is definitely something I've been doing for the past, I'd say, 2 or 3 years. More so the past, actually, be like year and a half or 2 years. But I've also programmed on Windows before that. I started programming on Windows with .NET, so C Sharp, when I was 14. So I kind of have experience with both. But yeah, that's kind of where I started from. Michael, do you want to go next?
So hang on just a second.
Okay.
I'm going to change one bit of my input here. Um,
There we go. I should sound a lot clearer. Um, so I started programming in Windows, and I when I moved to the Mac, I changed over to that as my primary way of programming. I prefer to program anything that is based off Unix, just because it's what the web uses and things like that. It's just personal preference, but I feel like you get the best of all the worlds by programming on something like that. And if you do it on a Mac, well, you get the Mac operating system as well. So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, Michael, that's a great thing. And for those who are in our meetup, do you want to kind of explain how you got started on Mac? Because I know it's a pretty unique story, whereas mine is just, oh, I just tried it one day and I loved it. But do you want to kind of explain what happened to you, Michael?
Sure. So I've lived in Austin since 2002, and we've had an Apple store here for a while. And Taylor just moved here to Austin in December. So, and she never got to see the original Apple store in Barton Creek Mall, and uh, I got to see. I started going there in 2005, and I bought my original iPod Classic. And then I went in and I said, okay, well, I've got an iPod. I want to see these Macs. So impress me. Show me why I should put down my Windows computer for gaming and programming and pick up a Mac. And they showed me the accessibility features of Zoom, where I could magnify the screen, and VoiceOver, where it can read the screen, which was unheard of in Windows at the time. And I said, okay, take my money. What's the cheapest Mac I can buy? And that was a Mac Mini. So I got one of those. And in 2006, I got my first plastic white MacBook. Yes. It may not have even been a MacBook at the time. It may have been a PowerBook or what do they call them? iBook. I think it was an iBook.
iBook, really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I was way too young to even conceptualize any of that. So,
And that was right before they went Intel. So it was a G4. I came in on the tail end of the PowerPC days. So I went through the Intel transition, and that was something interesting. So Um, yeah, and that's kind of my story with the Mac. Why I love it. I still love Mac OS to this day. And that's been 17 years ago, which is kind of crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Um, but I just have loved the Mac. There was a time though, around 2005 and beyond, where it was not cool to have a Mac. You wanted to have Windows.
Really?
Uh,
I did not know
yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm. You were not cool if you had Mac. You were the best if you had Windows, and Mac was just recently starting to get popular again, and so the iPhone changed all of that in 2007. But it took the iPhone to make the Mac great in people's
Interesting.
eyes. Hmm.
Interesting.
So I do code and Mac OS. I use VS Code and Xcode on all as my two IDEs or platform editors of choice. But um, Victor, I'd be curious to know what you use for programming and what your platform of choice is.
So I've been a Mac user for a long time, but I don't really program for Mac as such, so no Xcode. I do scientific programming, and so it's all Linux and no GUIs. It's all
Mm-hmm.
Linux command line, whatever driven, and so I program in the Apple Terminal program.
Mm-hmm.
But I do use a Mac to develop software for Linux.
Interesting. Do you
Yeah,
deploy to servers
because
or
sorry.
do you test on your local machine or do you use Docker or what is your
Um,
methodology there?
hmm. No, I don't use containers. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I write some stuff on the Mac and then carry it over to Linux and run there. But large applications, then of course the Mac is just a terminal onto
Mm-hmm.
a Linux supercomputer.
Gotcha. So you're using like SSH
Yeah,
to do your stuff.
absolutely.
Yeah. And it's
But
interesting what like with what Homebrew gives you, like what you're able to do on the Mac compared, that's the same as Linux.
yes, actually, I don't use Homebrew. I started on Fink to get my Unix software and then switched to Mac ports. And then I got tired of switching, so I'm stuck with Mac ports. I
Hmm.
hope it does the same as Homebrew.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yep.
Anyway, I've been with Mac for a long time. I think I had a PowerBook 170, which was the very first Apple laptop. And yeah, so Michael, I think you said you came in with the G4. I had a G3, and in fact, I started out with the 68,000s.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't even know what my first Mac was. I think my first Mac was. Gosh, I don't even know. All I know is that I got it because my dad, when he was at work, found it lying around in the shop because he works construction. No one else apparently was going to use it. So he's like, Taylor, if you can figure this thing out, you can have it. So I don't even know how old the thing was, but I just know that it was a Mac that was from my dad's work and somehow got it. I don't even know how, but it was just in the office and basically I just took it. So, who knows?
So, a question for the two of you. What sort of programming do you do that there is a choice between Mac and Windows? I mean, some people are forced into the one or the other because of what sort of programs they develop. So, how is that for you?
Well, I've been learning Python, and so you can run the same stuff on Windows as you can on Mac or as on Linux. But also, if you're developing Node.js applications, Electron, we play a lot with that. But honestly, my day job I develop using Cordova, which if you don't have a Mac, it's pretty difficult. There's ways you can get a server through Mac Stadium, but you know having that Mac makes all the difference for building the iOS version of your app.
Hmm. Does that mean the developers have Macs as well, Michael, that you work with?
Yes. Yep. They both have Macs as well.
Yeah.
How's that for
Yeah.
you, Taylor? What do you do?
So kind of the same stuff. I don't technically program for my day job, although, well, I kind of do. I do a lot of iOS like testing and stuff because I'm an accessibility engineer, which is basically where I test websites and applications for accessibility compliance and making sure that they're accessible with the standards and that kind of thing. So I work for a company. And I do have to program our internal application. So I do get time allotted each week. And so that is all Xcode. So that's native Swift. So obviously, you really can't develop Xcode and Swift on a Windows computer. It's not really possible. So
You
as a
actually
result,
can.
You can. Really?
With VS Code, you can, but to compile and build, you will need
Well, that's the
access
whole
to a
point.
Mac. Yeah.
That's the whole point is I have to
Yeah.
compile and build it.
But there are developers like Xamarin developers that will build in Windows and then they use CI, continuous integration, with a Mac server and have Visual Studio build their application.
Right, but considering this is native Xcode, yeah. But yeah,
Right.
that is another option. You can do CI, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That is definitely a choice. But again, it's all about what you prefer. So it's interesting that we all have at least Mac, or we all use Mac, right? It's kind of interesting depending on what kind of people we get. Hopefully more people show up. I'm really hoping more people show up.
You know, Windows is coming pretty close now that they have Windows Subsystem for Linux, but I feel like that still doesn't bridge the gap well enough.
No.
I mean, it's close, and you could do a lot. You know, they showed it with Windows 11. There's deeper integration between the Windows Terminal app, WSL, and Visual Studio Code, which is great. And I'm very glad that Windows, like the Microsoft team, is focusing on that because they want people to build web applications for Windows as first-class citizens. But I feel like it's not where it needs to be for building using Linux-based, commands. Like Python for Windows and running Python in WSL is totally different things. It does not, you can't install the Windows version and expect it to work the same way, which is very interesting. What's up, Taylor?
Oops. There we go. I'm getting messages. So, I'm trying to respond to those for people who are trying to join the meeting. So, yep. Can you hear me, Michael?
Yes.
Yep, I'm just getting some Discord messages, that's all. They're just direct messaging me, so I'm trying to
Okay.
deal with that. So, but, that's kind of one of the things. They're like, oh, we can't find the link, so on and so forth. So I'm going to quick handle that. But either way, I just wanted to quick mute, though the typing echo didn't get in the recording. So.
It did.
I'm sure it did. That's okay. But at least it wouldn't be as maximal. Or
right.
At least it wouldn't be as prevalent. What I'm looking for.
But it's there's different reasons for using different things, right? And I just feel like the Mac, because of customization. Victor, have you used a program called Hazel?
Never heard of it.
Hazel is a neat automation program, and what it lets you do is, say you put something in your downloads folder, Hazel can monitor your downloads folder and then move the files you have in your downloads folder to somewhere else. Or it could say, okay, you've just put an image into the resize folder, and so you want that image to be resized from 128 by 128 to 1024 by 1024. You wouldn't want to do that. You might scale back down from, the reverse. But Hazel can automate those kind of tasks. Or you could, you could have a new Zoom recording be done and put it right in Google Drive. So, you can automate a little bit more with Hazel. And then there are shortcuts, so you can automate your developer workflow with shortcuts as well.
Yeah, I'm I'm a complete Unix geek. I just write scripts for all that.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's the nice thing about the Mac, in my opinion, too, is even though it's not Linux, it's the closest thing to this side of Windows. So
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
you get the best of both worlds. Plus, you get Macs, you get the Mac, you get the great hardware, you get great displays, you get compatibility through the Apple ecosystem. Um,
Right. 20 years ago or so, I had a dual boot IBM laptop, and just about the second that Apple came out with the what was it, the titanium PowerBook and
mhm.
OS 10, I immediately switched because OS 10 is Mac and Unix in one, so no more dual boot.
Right. And if you have to, you could do containerization or install VM with Linux or whatever operating system you want. Even on the M1 machines, you could put Windows. Now, I will warn people, if you're running M1, it is harder to install some Python and C packages because they have not been built for ARM yet. So that can be an issue.
Yeah.
But I'd rather deal with that than on Microsoft land where there is no Chrome for ARM based Windows. So you just have to run the emulated version, which is
No, that
okay,
sounds
but it's
awful.
not
That's awful. I mean, at least it works, but it's not great.
right.
Emulation is always slower. There we go. I just had to handle that. There was apparently some issues RSVPing or something to the meetup, so I had to go. Just
Oh
to say
no.
hey. Yeah. So I just had to ping the Discord. Oh, I guess we're doing it the old-fashioned way. Anyways, folks, this is what happens when you run a meetup. Sometimes there can be issues, and you just have to deal with it. So, luckily we've got the Discord, and Discord's not down, so that's good. But yes, emulation is always slower. In fact, I mean, I'm running Windows on a Parallels virtual machine. And I mean, yeah, obviously it's not as fast as like a native Windows, like, hardware, but it's super fast. It still does the job. But yeah, emulation can sometimes be slower. Obviously, most of the time, because it's not, your main system.
And it's funny because a lot of people think that Mac is more for media creation and that kind of stuff, but um, the compile times and things like that are just as fast as they are on Windows. And um, if you have the M1 or M1 Pro or Max, it's great.
Yeah, and Apple comes with, or at least there is really good software. So I've been using Logic for a long time for making music, and way back when that was a cross-platform product, and then Apple bought it and discontinued, of course, the Windows support.
I
But
didn't know that.
I didn't
Wow.
either.
uh, I've been around for a while. We're talking 20 years ago or so. It was a German company called eMagic. Um, they may have even started it on the Amiga or something, but I don't know that. Anyway, yeah, Apple bought this German company, and then of course they turned it into a garage band. But Logic is an absolute steal if you're into making music. Then it's a $200 package, and it has everything. If you need to cobble
Hmm.
that together from other things, you spend way more. So it's really great, and
Yeah.
yeah.
We own out all the Apple things. We even have Final Cut, Motion, and Compressor. So
Hmm. I have Final Cut Pro, and the other day I found out that Motion exists, but I'm not getting into that.
well, the way I figured it is it's $50. Both that and Compressor are
Mm.
$50. Might as well, because it kind of completes the set. So it's like, let's just pick it up. And so Taylor and I both have it on our family plan, so that makes it nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, we have so much invested into Apple that yeah, it's it's like, yeah, we love our Apple stuff in this household.
Taylor just bought some AirPods Max.
Yep.
So
I have those on right now. So, literally about an hour or two before this call, they came in. I grabbed them and got them set up, and here we are.
Actually, now that you mention that, I'm curious what microphone you're using because you sound really good.
I have no idea, and I was going to ask you that right before we started this meetup, and the thought just kind of totally didn't come to me because I was trying to deal with the issues. So, and of course,
Yeah, I'm really
Michael,
curious which one you're using.
I don't know. How am I going to figure that out? Let's see.
Well, you could go into somebody's whistling as they walk down the hall. If you go next to your mute button in the Zoom window, there'll be a menu, and it'll say your input and output devices.
I'm using the MacBook Pro microphone.
Okay.
Do I just sound really good? I have original sound on.
Yeah. So just keep it there. You would sound pretty good with your AirPods microphone, but I would just keep because I'm using my MacBooks microphones as well. So I just keep it at that
apparently your
setting.
internet's breaking up. We're in the same house. Or our internet's breaking up. At least to each other. Anyways. Let's see. So yeah. So everyone should have the Zoom link now, which is good. But yeah, it's just interesting, what people use, and obviously all of our different use cases, because
Yeah, and I think there's people that use different IDEs on different platforms for different reasons. A lot of people like Android Studio on you could use that on Chrome, which is really neat, like on Chrome OS for Linux.
interesting.
So it just depends on what your preference is. And the neat thing about the Pixelbook laptops, they're very thin notebooks. And being able to run Android Studio, full version of Linux, and that kind of stuff on there is pretty neat as a developer environment because it's the thinness of an iPad almost, and you can just take it and go and be able to develop.
Yeah, that is interesting. Because didn't you have one at one point, Michael?
I did, and I gave it to somebody else who really probably never used it much, but
Probably not.
but another friend of ours does have the Pixelbook Go, which is the newer version. So
Yeah, that would be interesting to see, how that is for development.
but even now you could throw Chrome OS into a Parallels VM and play with it.
Can you now?
Yes.
Now, I don't know why I want to do that, because Chromevox is honestly the biggest.
Actually, it's not that
garbage.
bad. Chromevox is
Really?
not that bad. No.
I haven't had good luck with it, so I'm glad that it's improved. I've not had good luck with it.
Yeah, Jason has been able to use it, and being able to run Android apps from Google Play on there, it's pretty neat. So
I think I was trying to run it with another screen reader. That got a little bit messy.
Yeah.
I think that's where my ship for it. And I was kind of putting it to its paces, let's just be real. I kind of had to use it when I was at my old job for reading math equations with old software, and it was just a nightmare. So let's just be real. I've probably pushed it way beyond its limits. But, I'm just saying. I didn't have the best luck with it, but, it's probably improved, which is awesome.
What are they at? Chrome OS 100 or some crazy number like
I
that?
don't even know. That was like 2 or 3 years ago. That's crazy. Actually, I got done with that job in 2020. So, wow. Almost 2 years out of that job. But yeah. But that's when I last used it, was in 2020. So. When I had my 2017 MacBook Pro. That's what I had. What did I have? Yep. That was an Intel. Then this year I upgraded to the M1. Believe it or not, it was kind of a forced upgrade.
Yeah, your previous Mac went out.
Yeah. I was like, oh no. So I had to take an Uber. Actually, and I was an Uber because Lyft wasn't. I was in Michigan still. Uber and Lyft were kind of spotty. So I had to go to Best Buy, pick up the Mac, I did curbside pickup because it was obviously.
And it was an open box, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. An open box. Yep. And then it was an open box. You're right, Michael. And then I remember because I got a steal. Like, I don't even know how I did it, but it was nuts.
You know, I still remember the craziest time I had was I bought an iMac. I was living in North Austin. I was bought an iMac from, at the time, the only Apple store, which was in Barton Creek, South Austin.
Oh boy.
And we didn't have Lyft or Uber back then.
Oh.
And taxis were a little ridiculous here in town. So guess how I brought this 27-inch iMac home?
On the bus?
On the bus, Capital Metro.
How the heck did you do that?
Transferred 2 buses.
Without getting a bunch of looks in the face.
I brought 4 friends with me.
Oh my god.
That's a pretty big box.
Yeah.
With a pretty useful handle.
Yeah, I was gonna say you were probably working. Oh, we got someone in the waiting room, but you were probably with some of your people that you knew, your friends.
Oh yes.
I don't know which friends they were, but either way, that's hilarious. It's awesome.
Welcome.
We got a new person. Welcome.
Yeah, I bought that iMac, and we were even at the Capitol with it, and it was not a good time to
Why
to
were
be
you at the Capitol with iMac?
because that was the transfer point
Oh my.
for the 2 buses.
Oh. Yeah, I'm glad I don't have to do that anymore because I'm sure that.
Yeah,
would
Lyft
go
is great.
very well. Yeah.
Well, now you could just get the computers delivered at home.
I know. I've
like-
got it easy.
Like they'll deliver it from the Apple Store, not even from. They don't have to ship it. They could just deliver it from using, and they use Postmates, which is interesting.
It is, except when I almost sent my Magic Keyboard to Michigan. Anyway,
Yeah.
we do have a new participant though, so welcome. We're just kind of talking about Mac stuff. We're talking about programming. We're just kind of having a discussion. It's honestly very informal. So folks who are watching, you're probably thinking, "Oh, we're talking about programming," but we're also just talking, right? Just kind of a chat.
Yeah, and this is recorded to YouTube, so letting everybody know.
Yep.
But we're interested if you want to share, if you're a developer or what you're programming, what if you use Windows or Mac or what you use.
Or we let them in, Michael? This still shows
Yeah,
up?
they're in.
Oh,
Yeah, they're
okay.
in. But yeah. So feel free to speak up whenever you like. It's a small group. If you would like, if not, you can hang out and listen. It's fine. We were just talking about interesting stories we've had, as developers getting computers and things like that.
Right, because I didn't have an Apple Store when I got my last Mac. So what happened is the display. What happened with the display? The display, did it stop working, Michael? Is that what happened with it?
Yeah, it would intermittently work. So it would go on and off every few days.
Yep. And of course, I couldn't just go to my nearest Apple Store because I lived in Michigan in a very lame part that didn't have an Apple Store. So, at least for 40 or 50 miles. So, I couldn't just go to the Domain or Barton Creek. That's one thing I love about Austin. I can go to the Apple Store.
2 of them.
Whenever I want. I know.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And we had the Microsoft Store, and that was really nice because you could go look at Windows computers, and I personally like to look at a computer before I buy it. I really do.
That was just down the street from the old Apple Store, right?
It was, yep. And I went over there in December to look at if they put something new there, and they haven't. It's just it looks just like the Microsoft Store was, just all closed up and no Windows logo on top. So it's kind of sad. I really miss that store.
I never went to a Microsoft store. The closest one to me was actually in a town called Southfield, which was about 3.5 hours away. And we were all going to go for NFB State Convention. We had extra time, but we never actually made it to it. But I know that there was some Microsoft stores in Michigan. So, yeah. But yeah, that is sad. That's what I also like about Apple, is that they have stores nearby as well. So if I have problems, I can go to the Apple store and I can get stuff fixed.
Well, that's the thing that Microsoft was trying to do, was to create something similar to the Apple Store. And I felt like they did it because one of the unique things about the Microsoft stores, they had employees in there that maybe one person didn't know. But they say, well, let me get you somebody that does know about gaming, or let me get you somebody that does know about development. And they had those people there, and that was amazing.
That is awesome. I never went to a Microsoft store, but that's awesome.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just interesting. All this stuff, just trying to get computers. But at least now it'll be a lot easier because I could just either have it shipped or delivered, or if I had to take a lift for some reason. But it's just a lot easier now. So, yay. Another benefit of living in Austin, or a big city that has Apple stores. Wasn't sure where I was going to go to finish that sentence, but yeah. I mean, that's the thing. So this is actually, my third Mac. Wow. Because I had that first one.
I don't even know how many Macs I've had.
How many? I know you've had 4 pairs of AirPods Pro. I do know that much.
No, that's actually not accurate because I had to reset them a few times. So,
So how long do they last? When they first came out, there was some bad press about that the battery capacity goes down quickly, and that you can basically not recycle them because everything is glued together.
The AirPods?
Yeah.
The batteries they still are about 5 or 6 hours. It's not long. But the way I use them is that I put one in, and I'll use it for 5 or 6 hours. Then I'll put it back in the case, charge it up, take the other one out, and put it in my other ear. And then you get a lot longer time because you're not using them both at the same time, and you could also hear your surroundings more.
Yep.
But I mean, if you keep them for a year or two, doesn't the capacity go down pretty quickly?
It depends on how much you use them.
Okay.
But yes, they can. But if you get AppleCare on them, they will replace the batteries.
Right, but those things are unrecyclable, and I really don't like that notion of expensive stuff with materials that are unrecyclable.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, as a person that uses audio and that uses, listens to a lot of things on my phone, the AirPods just have allowed me to be a lot more free, to not worry about, because those regular headphones, they die quicker. The earpods that used to come with the phones die quicker, and the cables break, and those get tossed in the trash as well. So I feel like you actually are saving the environment more because you're not throwing all those cables away and all those headphones, because they're just the same thing, really.
Yeah, cables are a hassle. Okay, guys, I'm signing off. It was nice hearing you and your perspective on programming on different platforms, and see you in the next meetup.
Yep.
Sure thing.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay. Well, is it just us, Michael?
It is just us. Did anybody say they were going to join us?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think that something happened, but like I said, well, we could always try, next week, obviously. And that's why we're going to have these weekly. Some topics might be more popular than others. Right, so. But I don't think anyone else is joining us at the moment. So.
No.
But it's still been a really good discussion either way. I'm still pretty happy.
We made it 35 minutes.
Well, we know.
So I consider that to be a pretty good discussion. I thought it was great.
Do you want to go ahead and call it? Or do we
Let's go ahead and call it.
All right. Well, folks, this has been a very short meetup, but at least it has been a great discussion, and it will also be on YouTube as well, so if you guys missed it, feel free. We're going to go ahead and schedule our next meetup for next Thursday. And with that, folks, we are out, and we'll talk soon. Bye, everyone. Let me stop recording.